So there's often a lot of talk around about net zero. And one of the key things, of course, to achieving net zero is the transition from, well, fossil fuel cars to electric cars. That is a big, big, big transition. And no one really talks about the challenges that we actually really face in the UK about trying to make this transition, because it's not just the issue of people buying electric cars. Like I say, electric cars have come on greatly just in the last couple of years. The technology, the battery technology, the reliability of these cars is improved massively. And we know this is the direction that the car industry is heading in, and they want to facilitate that transition as well. But unfortunately, well, we've got a government that doesn't want to really facilitate this this transition, unfortunately, because we've still got massive infrastructure issues. There are cities that are quite good at this. Newcastle always surprised me when I went there and saw all the electric vehicle charging points that there are around the city centre. But then you look at other cities in the north, Leeds, barely any electric charging places, and if there are, they're very few and far between. Same for sort of Sheffield as well. So the infrastructure for certainly the charging point isn't there. There's then certain questions about, well, what if someone buys an electric car? And of course, well, how do they then charge it up if they don't have the correct infrastructure, or they don't have a driveway they can put it on? There's all these questions really that need to be answered. And it is answerable, but you've got to have a government that can actually provide those answers. But another thing that, of course, that is often cited that stops a lot of people going in the electric car route, even though lots of people would like to, is cost. Electric cars are still quite costly, and unfortunately, because of the current Brexit trade deal, it looks like that electric cars, not only exports but imports of electric cars, are about to get a lot more expensive. And this will result, of course, not only in damaging our progress towards net zero, but of course, eventually damaging our economy. Because, well, one of the big things the Brexiteers always used to say, oh, don't worry, the British car industry is going to flourish. Just look, of course, at Sunderland, where the Nissan car plant was hailed as, look how fantastic this is. This place is going to be booming in the next couple of years. Meanwhile, Nissan and of course Renault, who own quite a lot of the the car plant, and looking at the future of the UK and producing car parts and stuff in the UK at that factory, and are looking at it going, we can't really confirm, shall we say, the future longevity of this car plant up there. And of course, you have the Honda car plant down in Swindon, which again closed because of Brexit. And bear in mind, Nissan got a massive, massive subsidy from, or massive, shall we say, pile of money, basically from the government, basically going, saying, please don't leave, please don't leave, because if they did, that would be massively politically embarrassing. Whereas the one in Swindon wasn't, shall we say, key and central to the Brexit issue, whereas of course the one in Sunderland and the Nissan one, highly a lot more politically charged and motivated. But of course, what is happening in and around this? Well, of course, it comes to rules of origins checks. I think about a certain amount of car has to be made in the EU. I think it is, so 45%, of course, the electric vehicle, 45% of an electric vehicle by value does not originate either in the EU or in the UK. So that is huge. And the big problem is batteries, because batteries make up the biggest single component. And who are, again, currently the biggest suppliers of these batteries is China. So at the moment, these electric cars do not meet that. And as a result, they are seeing tariffs. And this is costing certainly the EU to send, cars over to here, which then sort of the sellers over here of the electric cars are having then to pass that price on to the consumer. This is making consumers not want to buy electric vehicles because, again, the price is going up because of the increased price of the tariffs, and equally vice versa. Any electric car that gets made in the UK gets subject to tariffs, which if you're now an electric car producer, why on earth would you want to have a production line in the UK where your main market to sell into, you're selling cars in the UK, but you're selling a lot more cars in the EU. Where do you think your production line is eventually going to end up? We've seen Stellaris, one of the biggest sort of uh, car manufacturers of electric vehicles, basically move out of the UK and say, yeah, there's no point being here. And it's because, well, the UK government once again is not supporting this industry, even though everyone can see it as plain as day. This is the direction, and all the automotive industries, the manufacturing industries are all begging the government, you need to sort out this Brexit trade deal. And of course, the EU is more than happy to sort of say, hey, look, if you want to sort this out, excellent, come talk to us. We're more than happy to that. In fact, there's a potential offer on the table to join, I think, the Mediterranean um, agreement, which again, not perfect, but it would be at least a good interim solution to while both sides sit down and negotiate. But of course, you've got to remember we still have a very, very, very pro, very Brexiteer-led government. And Kimmy Badenoch, who, let's face it, would be leading those negotiations, ain't interested in having those in having those talks or negotiations, or else she'd have already gone and done it. As practical as a lot of people like to say that she was in sort of denying the Brexiteers this massive bonfire of EU regulations, she will not go do the one thing that is the most practical of all, and that is start to solve these problems. Because not just this area that we are seeing that's causing initial problems in the car manufacturing, which is going to be which is going to lead to massive job losses. Because, as you said, if you're a manufacturer, yes, you sell cars into the UK, but you sell a lot more cars in Europe. So why even have a manufacturing base in the UK? And we've had a government who tried to set up a big, gigafactory for this, and of course they didn't support it, and it fell through completely. So they're not even doing that. Whereas the EU massively putting in to all the stuff. They've got their own Inflation Reduction Act, which is set to pass pretty soon. Which, when that starts going, when they start putting spades in the ground in Europe to build these factories of the future, where we are seeing this year spades are in the ground in America building these factories and industries of the future. What's the UK doing? It's doing absolutely nothing. And yet, remember, one of the big calls of many Brexiteers was that doing Brexit was going to issue back the manufacturing industry. Don't worry, the north of England, you have this massive manufacturing heritage. Oh, it's all going to come back because of Brexit. Are they doing anything to help support manufacturing industries? No, not a thing. Because, well, this is got to remember, free market fundamentalists currently really control the Tory party. So no subsidies, no help, no nothing. Because as far as they're concerned, the free market decides. It's up to the businesses to go and sort it out. Meanwhile, you're seeing things like the Inflation Reduction Act again. Things in Europe, and businesses and industries are flocking to America and to Europe to get access to those subsidies. They're not coming to the UK. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, please do remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button. And of course, down below, there are links to my Patreon page and a recommendation link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. And of course, there's the YouTube thank you button, and there's the Pony Club down below as well. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, we'll see you all next time.